All right.
All right, everyone, welcome back.
Let's do this. Yes. Before we pick up our final order of business before lunch, I would like to acknowledge and welcome our newest member, Representative Scully. How are you, sir?
I'm fine. I am fine. And the ride was lovely this morning.
Good.
The fog banks were a source of comfort as I passed through. And I saw one of my fellow legislators whom I have not yet met in person. But I really was concerned about the swiftness with which he was exercising to have an arrival here at the State House, certainly that exceeded mine. I'm not bashful.
Observation.
May have had a great sense of urgency.
Could be.
Yeah, House or Senate, you got a seat number off that tag, sir?
Okay, so we'll go to the sergeant at arms.
Get you a tie after and we'll chit chat about a plate number.
So with that, let's just take a quick second to introduce ourselves formally at the table for you, sir.
Thank you.
And we'll start to my right.
Oh, sorry. Representative Lisa Hango, I'm vice chair of the committee. I serve Franklin 5, which is 4 towns on the Canadian border in northwestern Vermont.
Hi, Representative Lucy Boyden, the clerk of the committee. I serve Memorial 3, which is Cambridge, Watertown.
Sandy Pinsold, I serve Bennington Rutland 1, which is 5 towns in the southwestern corner.
And Michael Morgan, and I'm Olive Grand, the 5 Grand Isle County towns and western corner of Milton.
I'm VL Coffin and I serve Windsor District 2, which is Cavendish, Weathersfield, and Baltimore.
Mary Catherine Stone, Chittenden 14, Burlington, part of the Hills section, Champlain College, gateway to downtown.
Representative Hooper of Randolph is en route. He will introduce himself later.
I'm Kate Newton, a representative part of South Burlington.
I'm Shay Waters Evans. I'm a ranking member of the committee. I'm from Charlotte and I represent Charlotte and part of Heinsberg.
Representative Matt Byron, chair of the committee, Northwest Addison County, Virgins, Waltham, Canton, Ferrisburg, Addison, and about a third of New Haven. So that's my turf.
Thank you all.
Yeah.
And thank you for your service.
Welcome.
You, sir. Yeah, you as well.
Stepping up.
All right, now on to matters of state. So we have with us Rep. Goodnow, and he is going to discuss with us some language from 8-541 that his committee and Senate Judiciary had asked us to consider for inclusion in our Voting Rights Act. So with that, Representative, walk us through what we're considering.
Yes, so hello, everyone.
Yes.
My name is Ian Goodnow. I am a representative from Wyndham District 9, which is a third of Brattleboro, the downtown portion. So as you'll recall back before crossover, at some point, I did a walkthrough with Ledge Council for House Bill H-541, which is an act related to voter and election official intimidation. And that passed out of the House and went to the Senate. And now I think what we're kind of hoping to do is put that language back into S-298, which is your Vermont Voting Rights Act bill. Mr. Chair, I'm happy to I can go back through a walkthrough of the bill. Or I can, I think I would start with just saying that having gone through S-298 briefly before coming to talk to you all, you're looking at things like interference with voting, intimidation of election officials, intimidation of voters. This all kind of matches and is pretty logical to put this language in. It looks like from the Senate side, there was an attempt to kind of do this already, as far as I can tell. If you guys are looking at S-298, they're on page 4 and 5, starting on lines 16. There's an intimidation of election official officers, and and then on page 5 on line 3, intimidation of voters with a civil cause of action. So it looks like they kind of bifurcated the H-541 into two separate things: intimidation for voters and interference with election officials. As you'll recall, H-541 kind of was a singular criminal penalty for any kind of interference with a voter, be them any voter or election official, and kind of did it as a singular thing. I think I would just suggest for the committee, when you're looking at this, that you think about what we did with H-541 was mimic the federal voter intimidation law. And that is important because we are dancing in a pretty dangerous territory when it comes to free speech, First Amendment rights, and the potential for a chilling effect when it comes to poll stations and voters. So as we move further away from what is constitutionally has been tested and is considered constitutional, the federal crime, as we make the language more different or varied from what that was, there could be a potential constitutional challenge. And these will get challenged. I think that's our understanding from testimony. So that's like my only thing. Having reviewed it, the language is fairly similar, but what we did is we basically took the language exactly and then updated a little bit based on some fairly recent case law. This has changed it a little bit more than that. And so I think that would be my only concern, or you might want to just hear a little bit about that.
And based on the conversation with Senate Judiciary Chair, was more of a focus on section 1, perhaps? Yeah. Was language in and around from the ballot. Sorry, I got so many tabs open. Yeah, the showing the ballot.
That's what. So sorry. What that was conversation in the Senate that they.
That was the one to really he was clear that was the one section that he wanted us to focus on, but I didn't know if that made sense to you folks, having been the shepherds of the original bill.
Oh, interesting. Because that's not in there. That's not in this new S-298 at all.
No. That's the inclusion of that in the conversation. Yeah.
Oh, I apologize. So I misunderstood. Yeah, I mean, showing it's existing law. So I guess it would probably make sense for it to go in the Vermont Voting Rights Act. That would be pretty logical. If you recall, I think I did talk about this when I did the walkthrough. Some of this language is fairly is antiquated. It has to do with the showing the ballot language had to do with a lot of laws across the country back at the turn of the century when there was a lot of concern about buying people's votes, and so they were trying to figure out ways to kind of protect against that type of voting fraud. And one of the ways that people were buying votes, how they were enforcing a purchase of a vote, was to show the ballot to sort of the person that was buying the vote from you. And so the criminalizing showing the ballot was a way to try to address it. So it's an old law. And we when we looked at it as part of our bill, we kind of updated the language, and then we took out anything that was relevant to what we were adding into a new section. And then we kind of just left it alone because it hasn't been doing any harm, and there could be a potential reason to use it. But I don't know if it's ever been used in Vermont. Yeah. Does that make sense? So I don't know if you guys want to add it in, Ken?
And then that seems to be the conversation. That was the direct request from Senate Judiciary and, this is your bill. So I wanted to just talk about the continuity of that and,
Yeah. Yeah, I think it would make sense.
yes.
Yes. Okay. Yeah, and I guess I would say with section 2, they did change it quite a bit. So we might want to
Looking at that.
look at that a little bit. I guess I apologize, Mr. Chair. I didn't realize we were just talking about section 1.
Yeah, no. And that was, I forwarded an email a little while ago that I had only received a little while ago with a clarification from Senate Judiciary. Sure.
I see.
So we have a lot of moving parts going this week, so that is not a problem at all.
Okay.
So that's what we're clearing up right here.
Yeah.
Because we're gonna work towards a new draft of the bill itself for review next week. So this is just one of the components that we're poking at right now. So section 2 as well. Okay.
Yeah, I think the last thing I would say on section 1, as far as, so I think it's relevant to put in for sure.
Mhm.
I would say we did not take a lot of testimony on section 1, because if you look at H 541, all we did was update the language to use gender neutral pronouns and remove language from section 1 that was now going to be in the new section 2. So we took a little bit of testimony on it, but not a ton.
Okay.
I guess if you're gonna poke around with that and decide whether you want to put it in, you might need to take.
Yeah, and I'm thinking I need to check back in with Senate Judiciary's chair just to make sure that we're all thinking the same thoughts right now.
Yeah, I'm a little curious too.
Okay. Rep Goff.
And I just want to go back, because when you were talking about section 2,
Yeah.
you're talking on 541.
Yep.
Interference with voters and election officials.
Yes.
That is a closer look at what is federal statute and has been proven to be constitutionally acceptable.
Yes, I want to correct myself. It hasn't been found unconstitutional.
Okay.
I think actually the testimony was it has never really been challenged, but it's been on the books for a while. Yes, so the language in H 541 section 2 is very similar. The only thing it changed was if you're looking at H 541 line 19 on page 1, was no person shall intentionally or recklessly intimidate, threaten, or coerce. So the intentionally or recklessly language came from a 2024 case that was about sort of like this question around chilling effect of voter intimidation, and we pulled that to put it in here so that we actually had like the most up to date what was considered constitutional language. So that, if you look at S 298, I think they do keep that. No, actually, they don't.
No
Person shall intentionally or recklessly intimidate, it is in there.
Intentionally,
Yeah.
intimidate, threaten, coerce, intentionally.
Yep, that word is.
But they took out the
They
reckless.
took out the recklessly.
So they did some changes. I don't really know totally why. So I haven't really talked to judiciary.
It's an age-old question as it pertains
Yeah.
to the upper chamber.
Yeah, so I'd be curious about that, and I just noted it as like a little bit of an asterisk, like, oh, like, just make sure that was there for like, we really intentionally did it this way to protect against a constitutional challenge.
Okay. I guess that gives us something to work on with
Does
this.
that answer your question?
Yes.
Other questions?
Just another footnote for us to poke at, discuss, and take testimony on as we consider the inclusion of this stuff into the bill. So.
Yeah.
For me, I'd like to stay, make sure we're within the Constitution. We're not
That is always.
going out that. That's why had to ask that question.
Yeah. And they may have heard additional testimony in Senate Judiciary that narrowed it. Maybe this narrowing language actually protects it more. I would just like want to hear that. Yeah.
Okay.
Any other question?
Rep. Stone, do you have a question?
No, I was just pointing that out.
Okay. Gotcha.
Yeah.
Anything else for Rep. Goodnow right now? No. Thank you, member. We appreciate your time.
Thank you very much. Great to meet you.
Good to meet you.
Thank you.
All right, team. Yeah, I mean, I guess if folks have curiosities about the sections and the testimony we have on this, I think the goal, and we can talk about this more tomorrow during committee, is to really start honing some stuff in for revisions in and around this bill. And so yes.
Council had Nick post a side by side of the two bills, which is really helpful and it's color coded. So I think that will help us in our discussion.
Yes. So with that, barring any further questions or commentary on this subject matter or others. No. All right, we will, that's it for today. We're anticipating a decent amount of time on the floor today. So we have nothing scheduled for committee work this afternoon. We will be back tomorrow morning. And
9:30.
9:30 on the floor. Yeah. And then the only thing we have lined up for testimony right now is 1 o'clock. Continuing testimony on the charter proposal. So
Do we have an estimated time of departure?
5 o'clock
When we're
according
done.
to Betsy Ann.
No,
Today or
again,
tomorrow.
when we're done,
Don't tell me 5 o'clock on Friday.
when we're done,
Probably an hour.
when we're done.
Is there any way in the future, when you talk about, we don't know how long the floor is gonna be tomorrow, it could be long, but since we're going towards the end of the season and Fridays are short on the floor, maybe do something like 11:15 to do start before lunch.
I mean, if we have the birth in the morning with
Yeah.
floor stuff, sure.
Okay.
I mean, I'd like to do that, but then we wind up sometimes. Yes, I mean, I think it's worthy goal. In short, yep.